Hey everybody, Randy Walker here, and I want to talk a little bit about Goran Ivanisevic. Goran Ivanisevic was just inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in Newport, Rhode Island, and everybody has been having career retrospectives about Goran. And obviously the most notable achievement of his career was the amazing victory that he had at Wimbledon in 2001, where he's ranked 125 in the world but received a wild card by the All England Club and won the title, defeating Patrick Rafter in an amazing five-set final that was played on the People's Monday, which was due to rain. It was postponed to Monday, and they let anybody first come first serve buy tickets, and it created an amazing atmosphere there. But I want to talk a little bit about my favorite or my most memorable Goran Ivanisevic memory, and that came in Davis Cup about 2 years after Goran had won Wimbledon. This was in 2003. It was the first round, USA versus Croatia in Zagreb, Croatia, which was a very memorable tie for me personally, and certainly it was for Goran. Behind me is the poster that I have from that series. I was the press officer for the U.S. Davis Cup team, and one of the cool things is the poster there. It says Hrvatska, which is Croatian for Croatia, against SAD, S-A-D, which was the initials for United States of America in Croatian. So certainly we in the U.S. contingent were very sad because we lost the match 3-2 in pretty crazy circumstances. For starters, Andy Roddick, who was the top dog in American tennis that year and would go on to win the U.S. Open and become number one in the world later in the year. But he played an amazing Australian Open quarterfinal match in 4 hours and 59 minutes, beating Yunus El-Anawi 21-19 in the fifth set. Crazy victory, which completely wore him out, and he lost to Rainer Schuttler in the semifinals easily and was injured and couldn't go to Croatia to play this match. So the top U.S. Singles players were James Blake and Marty Fish, and they split the first two matches. Marty lost to Ivan Lubicic, and James Blake defeated Mario Ancic. Now, Goran was supposed to play in the doubles, was not really sure whether he was going to play or not. He had been suffering terribly from these awful shoulder problem that he had. He had surgery and could barely lift his arm over his head. He barely played at all the previous 10 months. And he had an operation, and he gave us his unique Goran quotes, saying that he would walk to Tibet if that would be what it would take to make his arm feel better. He did play a challenger the week before, and he won his first round match, and then he had to retire 4 games into his second match. Couldn't even finish a match there. So it was kind of sketchy whether he was going to play, and so forth. But he was put in the lineup to play doubles with Lubicic against Blake and Fish. And Blake and Fish went up 2-0 and went to a third set tiebreaker. Goran was just hanging on by the seat of his pants just to stay in the match, and Lubicic was willing him on, and he was willing himself on, and somehow they came back and won that match from 2-0 down to make it two matches to one. In the best of 5 match series, which most Davis Cup aficionados, that if you're up 2-1 going into the last 2 singles matches, you're in really good shape. So that was a vital point. But what really, the memory that I have that sticks with me is after Croatia won that doubles match, and Goran and Lubicic was going crazy, and with the crowd and the drums and the bands and all the atmosphere and so forth. It was only a 3,000 seat arena, but it had a really low ceiling, and it was just loud. It was so loud. And I remember Goran in that post-match celebration and so forth. They were hugging and waving the flag and so forth. And then he goes up and walks up the stairs to the chair umpire's chair, and he just grabbed the microphone and ripped it off the little stand there on the chair umpire, very forcefully, which I remember. and then the entire crowd which was going berserk, just all of a sudden immediately went silent. I mean, it was such a stark contrast from this pandemonium to complete silence because their hero, their Wimbledon champion, their Olympic medalist, Goran Ivanisevic, the national hero of Croatia, was going to speak to them. And he picks up the microphone and he says, "Vala," which is Croatian for thank you. And it was just deadly, deadly silent. And then all of a sudden he starts singing this Croatian song, and then the whole crowd starts singing along with him at this song, which was obviously some sort of Croatian soccer chant or whatever. And Bud Collins, the Hall of Fame journalist with the Boston Globe and NBC Sports, etc., he was there, and he actually had found out that the lyrics to the song were basically "Let's all stomp on the Americans." So it was quite interesting, but I'll never forget Goran's reaction there, that amazing victory, unfortunately at our expense, but just how he captivated the crowd. And it was almost like George W. Bush with the bullhorn down at Ground Zero. I mean, he just captured everyone's attention, and the amount of respect and the amount of attention that he warranted in that moment just really stayed with me. And Lubicic beat James Blake in the next day in the fourth rubber, and we lost. Goran actually ended up only playing, I counted it up, 24 more matches in his career, singles and doubles. And he finally was able to return to Wimbledon for the first time after he had won his title in 2001. He was able to return in 2004, made it to the third round, lost to Leighton Hewitt, who ironically was also just inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame, but he's going to be honored next year because of the COVID protocols in Australia and so forth. And actually, Goran won a few rounds in doubles that year at Wimbledon, and they lost to the Bryants, which was pretty interesting. So there it is. That's my Goran Ivanisevic best memory or most memorable moment in his career from the Hrvatska versus SAD Davis Cup tie, Zagreb, Croatia, February 2003.